Welcome to Noir Reality, where we delve into the darkest corners of true crime. Today we're taking you to the neon-lit streets of Hong Kong at the turn of the millennium, to uncover a case that shook the city to its core and left an indelible mark on its psyche. This is the story of the Hello Kitty murder, a crime so bizarre and horrific that it seems almost unbelievable. In the bustling metropolis of Hong Kong, as the final year of the 20th century unfolded, a case emerged that would shock the city to its core. The Hello Kitty murder, as it came to be known, was a grim reminder that even in the most modern and seemingly safe urban environments, darkness can lurk just out of sight. Our story begins with Fan Man-yee, a woman whose life had been marked by hardship from the very beginning. Abandoned as an infant, Fan grew up in an orphanage, never knowing the warmth of a family's love. At the tender age of 15, she found herself cast out onto the unforgiving streets of Hong Kong, ill-equipped to navigate the challenges of adult life. With no skills, no support system, and nowhere to turn, Fan soon fell into a world of petty crime and drug addiction. She turned to prostitution to survive, working in seedy brothels and selling herself on the streets. It was a life of desperation and constant danger, but for Fan, it was the only life she knew. In her early 20s, a glimmer of hope appeared. Fan secured a job as a dancer at the Empress Karaoke nightclub. It was there that she met a man who would become her husband. He too was battling drug addiction, but for a brief moment, Fan felt she had found a sense of belonging. They married in 1996 and soon had 2 sons. However, the stability was short-lived. Their relationship was tumultuous, marked by frequent arguments that echoed through the thin walls of their apartment, disturbing neighbors and traumatizing their young children. By 1997, Fan had returned to prostitution, working at a brothel called the Romance Villa in Kowloon. It was here that she encountered Chan Man-lok, a 34-year-old man who would ultimately seal her fate. Chan was no ordinary client. He was a well-known figure in the local underworld, a wealthy socialite with a dark side, deeply involved in drug dealing and operating as a pimp. For Fan, trapped in a cycle of addiction and desperation, Chan seemed to offer an escape. He paid her for marathon sessions, supplying her with a steady stream of crystal meth. Fan quickly became integrated into Chan's inner circle, rubbing shoulders with his underlings and fellow criminals. Chan was a member of the Triads, a notorious Chinese organized crime syndicate. Associating with him was dangerous, but Fan, blinded by drugs and the allure of easy money, failed to see the peril she was in. One fateful night in early 1999, intoxicated and desperate, Fan made a decision that would cost her everything. She stole Chan's wallet, making off with the equivalent of about $4,000 US. It was a substantial sum, but more than that, it was a grievous insult to a man accustomed to instilling fear and commanding respect. Chan's fury knew no bounds. He demanded not only the return of his money, but an additional $10,000 in interest. Fan, knowing she could never hope to repay such an amount, pleaded for time. But Chan had no intention of waiting. In March of 1999, he ordered 2 of his henchmen to kidnap Fan and bring her to his apartment on Granville Road. The apartment itself was a study in contrasts, a 5-bedroom space bizarrely decked out in Hello Kitty merchandise. From curtains to bedsheets, even plush toys scattered about. The cute cartoon cat's face was everywhere. It was in this surreal setting that Fan's nightmare truly began. Initially, Chan's plan was to force Fan to work as a prostitute non-stop until her debt was paid. But no matter how much she earned, Chan kept increasing the interest, pushing the goal further and further out of reach. Frustrated by her inability to keep up with his demands, Chan and his associates began to take out their anger on Fan physically. The abuse started with beatings, punches, kicks, strikes with various objects. But soon it escalated into something far more sinister. The group, high on drugs and drunk on their own cruelty, began to devise new and horrific ways to torment their captive. They tied her up with electrical wires, suspending her from hooks in the ceiling. They burned her with candle wax and melted plastic. They forced her to consume urine and feces. They rubbed salt and spices into her open wounds. All the while, they laughed and treated it like a game, forcing Fan to smile and claim she enjoyed the torture, lest they make it even worse. The group of tormentors consisted of Chan Man-lok, the ringleader, wai-lun, a young gangster in his early 20s, shing-cho, 26 years old, and most disturbingly, a 14-year-old girl known only as Ah Fong. Despite her youth, Ah Fong was reportedly one of the most enthusiastic participants in Fan's abuse, giggling as she devised new ways to hurt the woman. For approximately a month, this horrific abuse continued. Fan was starved, only given the bodily fluids of her tormentors as sustenance. She drifted in and out of consciousness, lying on the floor while her captors casually watched TV or played video games in the next room. Her body was so battered and broken that even potential clients began refusing her services. On April 15, 1999, after a month of unimaginable suffering, Fan Man-yee's ordeal came to an end. The group had gone out for drinks, leaving her tied up and locked in the bathroom as usual. When they returned, they found that Fan had finally succumbed to her injuries, dying alone and in agony. Rather than show any remorse or seek to make amends, the group's response to Fan's death was as callous as their treatment of her in life. They left her body in the bathroom for several days, going about their lives as if nothing had happened. They even went to an arcade to play video games, leaving Fan's corpse to decompose in the apartment. Eventually, Chan decided that they needed to dispose of the body. In a gruesome process that lasted hours, they dismembered Fan's body in the bathtub using a handsaw. Then, in an act of unimaginable depravity, they cooked the body parts on the stove to reduce the smell and slow decomposition. The group's actions became increasingly bizarre and disturbing. They used the same utensils to stir Fan's boiling remains and their own meal of noodles. They sewed her skull into a large Hello Kitty mermaid plush toy, the act that would eventually give this case its infamous name. Some of Fan's organs were kept in the refrigerator, while the rest of her remains were disposed of in the apartment complex's garbage. For a month, it seemed the group had gotten away with their heinous crime. But in May of 1999, the case broke wide open in an unexpected way. Ah Fong, the teenage girl who had participated in Fan's torture, walked into a police station with a strange story. She claimed she was being haunted by a ghost, a woman bound in electrical wire who had been murdered. At first, the police dismissed her story as the product of an overactive imagination or drug use. But when Ah Fong revealed that she had played a part in the woman's murder, they were forced to take her seriously. She led them to the apartment on Granville Road, where they discovered the grisly evidence of Fan's fate. The discovery of the Hello Kitty murder sent shockwaves through Hong Kong. The city, known for its low crime rate and modern amenities, was forced to confront the fact that such a brutal crime had taken place in its midst. The juxtaposition of the cute Hello Kitty merchandise with the horrific nature of the crime captured the public's imagination and added an extra layer of horror to an already gruesome case. The trial lasted for 6 months and captivated the city. Ah Fong, granted immunity in exchange for her testimony, provided gruesome details of Fan's ordeal. The material evidence presented in court, including the refrigerator where body parts were stored, the pots used for cooking, and Fan's skull, brought the horror of the crime into stark relief. Psychiatrists who evaluated the 3 adult perpetrators described them as completely remorseless. However, the case hit a significant snag when it came to determining the exact cause of Fan's death. Due to the way the body had been disposed of, it was impossible to definitively state whether she had died from the abuse or, as the defendants claimed, from a drug overdose. As a result, Chan Man-lok, Leung Wai-lun, and Leung Shing-cho were convicted not of murder, but of manslaughter. In December 2000, Justice Peter Nguyen sentenced them to life in prison, with the possibility of parole after 20 years. In his statement, he said, "Never in Hong Kong in recent years has a court heard of such cruelty, depravity, callousness, brutality, violence, and viciousness." Ah Fong, due to her age and cooperation with the authorities, was released into foster care without charges. Her current whereabouts and how she has fared in the years since the crime remains unknown. The Hello Kitty murder case left an indelible mark on Hong Kong's collective psyche. The apartment building where the crime took place became the subject of ghost stories and was eventually demolished in 2012. Every year on Fan Man-yee's birthday, citizens of Hong Kong hold a candlelight vigil in her memory, a somber reminder of the capacity for human cruelty and the importance of protecting society's most vulnerable members. As the years passed, the case continued to reverberate through Hong Kong society. In 2014, Fan's skull, the last physical evidence of her existence, was finally released to her family for cremation. The same year, one of the perpetrators, Leung Shing-cho, was released from prison. However, his freedom was short-lived. In January 2022, he was arrested for groping a minor and sentenced to 12 months in prison. proving that the darkness that led to Fan's murder had not been fully extinguished by his time behind bars. The Hello Kitty murder case serves as a chilling reminder that even in the most modern and seemingly safe societies, unfathomable evil can exist just beneath the surface. It highlights the devastating consequences of drug addiction, the vulnerability of those living on society's margins, and the capacity of human beings to inflict unimaginable cruelty on one another. Moreover, it raises difficult questions about justice and rehabilitation. Can individuals who commit such heinous acts ever truly be reformed? How do we as a society balance the need for punishment with the hope for redemption? The case of Shing-cho, reoffending after his release, suggests that these questions have no easy answers. The legacy of Fan Man-yee's tragic life and death continues to resonate. Her story has been the subject of books, documentaries, and even fictionalized accounts in film and television. Each retelling serves not only to keep her memory alive, but also as a cautionary tale about the darkness that can lurk within human nature. For the people of Hong Kong, the Hello Kitty murder case marked the end of a certain kind of innocence. It forced them to confront the fact that even in their modern, bustling city, such depravity could exist unnoticed for so long. It led to soul-searching about societal issues like drug abuse, organized crime, and the treatment of vulnerable individuals like Fan. As we reflect on this case, it's crucial to remember Fan Man-yee not just as a victim of a horrific crime, but as a human being whose life was marked by struggle and hardship from the very beginning. Her story is a stark reminder of how societal failures, from the lack of support for orphan children to the inadequate resources for those battling addiction, can lead to tragic outcomes. The Hello Kitty murder case, with its bizarre juxtaposition of cutesy pop culture imagery and unspeakable violence, continues to fascinate and horrify in equal measure. But beyond the sensational details, it stands as a testament to the importance of compassion, vigilance, and social responsibility. It challenges us to look out for the most vulnerable among us, to question our assumptions about the society we live in, and to confront the uncomfortable truth that sometimes the greatest monsters wear human faces. As Hong Kong and the world move forward, the memory of Fan Man-yee and the horrific circumstances of her death serve as a grim reminder of the depths of human cruelty, but also as a call to action. It urges us to build a society where such a crime could never happen again, where no one falls through the cracks as Fan did, and where justice is swift and certain for those who would prey on the vulnerable. The Hello Kitty murder case may have shocked Hong Kong at the turn of the millennium, but its echoes continue to resonate, challenging us to confront the darkness that can lurk within our communities and ourselves. It stands as a tragic chapter in Hong Kong's history, but also as a catalyst for reflection, change, and a renewed commitment to protecting the dignity and sanctity of human life.